Interesting comments yesterday from Phil Lowe, the Reserve Bank Governor, suggesting that while there may be an issue beyond March when it comes to JobKeeper, he believes that JobSeeker should be increased as well. But all in all, the economy's in a pretty good spot, Evan.
He is, and interesting. He almost sort of used those political catchy tones with the say that he does believe that there'll be some job shedding, which is an interesting way of putting to it. So, yes, you would expect that. You would expect that those companies that have been on JobKeeper particularly, that refers to and gets continuously referred to as sort of those zombie companies, those employees inside of them will probably finally fall off. And that's where you may actually see a little bit of a spike in the unemployment rate probably around the end of March, as JobKeeper does no longer get counted as you're employed, you're actually unemployed. So that's also part of why he says that. But he is impressed. He has upgraded his expectations around where the GDP sits. It's been beat forward by 6 months. I think the other part that was really put to him yesterday, and I'm really glad that a lot of the comments coming from journalists yesterday was around asset prices and asset bubbles. So that was the next question, because he has literally basically told the market that he has nailed the cash rate to 0.1 of 1%, not just till 2024. He wants to see a material increase in inflation. And why I highlight that wordage is we hadn't seen inflation between their mandated numbers of 2 to 3% on the core level since the third quarter of 2015. And we weren't seeing material increases in inflation before COVID happened. And that's because of wage growth. So wage growth is not going to materialise in the next 4 years. In fact, it's going to be hard to argue that it could even materialise in the next 6. So why the asset question was so important, it basically means that the ability to go and borrow and pin your ears back and borrow has probably been told to you, you've got half a decade to do so. And that's where the housing question comes on. Housing market is, at the way it's tracking, could be back at its highest ever level, which was last February, probably by May. And that will be more an interesting question in October when the peak selling period comes, the Springs period, which is also, according to the Prime Minister, when the whole population could possibly be vaccinated for COVID. So there is that very good question that we may find ourselves in a scenario where people have overborrowed because rates are so low. He's not too concerned about it now. He needs the economy to really chug along and people to borrow and take a bit of risk. But there will be a question at the end of the year about what that means.
Hey, Evan, CBA, interesting reports published this morning that they're likely to go bigger on dividends this year.
Yes.
Do you believe that other banks will be forced to follow?
Yes and no. Probably, look, the reason I say that is that there's always this beautiful stat in the Australian market around CBA is that almost, not exactly, but almost 1 in 2 people in this country bank with CBA. And CBA's power, CBA's position, and its ability to offer probably in the Big Four the most competitive opportunities is why it can probably do that. It has a market-leading position for a reason. And so in answer to your question, it is a little bit different to the other 3. It has now taken its hits with regards to the issues it had under Ian Narev and around the issues with APRA. So the one probably to highlight here that probably can't move for a while is probably Westpac, considering they have an outstanding fee coming with their $23 million issues that it had with AUSTRAC last year, and there are other sides to it. So that would be one to highlight. You've then also got to highlight someone like ANZ. ANZ is the interesting one because it could do it. And the reason I say that, it has the highest level of banking leverage to mining. So it's one of the largest mining lenders out there, and mining has done incredibly well over the last 6 to 12 months. So their customers probably should have done better. Therefore, there could be an argument you could see an upgrade there as well. But in saying that, the other 3 are different. They are facing different crises, and they are possibly, after pausing last year as their words for their first half numbers, will probably bring it back. But they won't be able to increase it like what CBA will do probably next Tuesday.